Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Journey Before Destination Overlanding. I know it's been a while, sorry I haven't gotten anything posted, but I've been really busy. We've had to clean this shop out. As you can see, there's nowhere near as much stuff in it as last time you saw it. And because we're leasing this out to another company, and I'm moving out of here and into a different shop. And as you can see, I've got the camper back apart. I'm finishing up the last bit of filling and fiberglassing. This has been a non-stop, long, dragged out process to fill all the holes and make it look good. I've got the primer. My intent is to finish up a few holes there, a few holes down here, level this or smooth this thing all off, prime it, sand it one more time, and paint it. I'm going to use Raptor coat up to the bottom because Line-X is just cost prohibitive. They wanted almost $4,000 to Line-X this thing. That's just way too much money. Raptor coat, I could Raptor coat the whole thing for $500-600. Or I could Raptor coat half of it for about $250. So I haven't decided which I'm going to do yet. If you have any comments, what you think, instead of painting it or just Raptor coating the whole thing, I'll figure that out here in the next few days and then get this thing painted before the end of this week, so that next weekend it is done sitting back in the trailer with the fenders on it. I'm going to Raptor line all that, put the fenders on. Actually, I'm going to fiberglass it first, then Raptor line it so that I don't have to worry about water getting into it. But my biggest project right now is I've been putting together the Victron system. This is the system that I'm going with instead of Red Arc or anything like that, because this is more expandable. And not only that, I could change this inverter out and put a bigger inverter in if I want to, but it's all in one. All of this does all the shore charging, and it does the inverting, and its solar goes in through it. Everything goes through it, all through the system, and it's all controlled by this, the Victron Energy Servo GX, and the really cool Victron thing they've got here, the screen they have. You can do all kinds of things on this, which we'll get into more later. But as you can see, I've got all the wires running through here, through the Lynx distributor. Everything comes in, everything's fused across here. It's got lights to tell you whether the fuse is good or not. You can see I've got solar coming in here. It goes out to the 100 or 130 solar, MPPT solar, which goes to the breakers, which are above it. I'm going to walk over there and walk through this whole system in a minute. I have a temporary battery on here just so that I can start programming stuff and setting it up and make sure everything works. There's the shunt, fuse, switch. Everything is as it should be with all of this now. I'm going to put bigger wires on here at a later time. These are winch wires right now off my old winch, which is plenty big enough, and this is a smaller wire off of a hydraulic pump, but it doesn't matter because I'm not running huge amounts of power through this. I'm not running an AC or anything like that off of it. This is just a test. They will have 4-aught wires going through them at a later time. So let's start over here. As you can see, I have my 30 amp wire coming in over here. It goes to my 30 amp screw-in plug, which mounts in the side right over there. If I get focus right, that hole in the side of the camper, this would be there, so I can run my shore power in. Shore power comes in, goes into the Victron Multi Plus, and you can see that goes right down into there. It hooks in, and the Multi Plus then runs out to 12 volts and goes out into there, which charges the battery through the Multi Plus. Now, we've also got the battery that comes back in here, and this will invert this to 110, and when I hook it up to there, those two, I'll have 110 coming out here, and 110 will go into this, which is my distribution panel. That's the 110 and 12 volt distribution panel. You can see when I pop this off, this is a section for the 12 volts. And when you take the whole cover off, which is not quite as easy as it sounds, but back in this section, it actually has ground wires here, a plug back here to plug into if you need to, and you can put circuit breakers in there, which is just conveniently not go there. Goes to this part. This is set up so that you can run wires in here and you can put circuit breakers in there for the 110. And this will be the distribution setup for the 110 and 12 volt all the way out. And then over here, I've got my switch panel, which will do all the outside lights. That's waterproof, IP65 waterproof. That will go to the outside. It has a 12-volt outlet, and it's got 5-volt USBs on there. And these lights will be for all the outside lights. It will actually be mounted on the outside with a separate switch. A relay will turn that on and off so that it's not constantly powered, so somebody can't come by in the middle of the night and turn them on. There'll also be two-way or three-way switches so I can turn them on and off on the inside. Like I said, this battery is not permanent. This is just what I had sitting around to hook up for the moment. It's a deep cell, but it's not a permanent solution to what I'm going to do. I'm putting lithium iron phosphates in there. So the power goes out. You can see the Servo GX is powered over into the Lynx distributor as well. Lynx distributor distributes all of the power everywhere. So as of right now, I can look up my smart shunt, which is right here. This is the temperature sensor, so it senses the temperature of the battery in the area so that I don't have to worry about getting really low temperatures and trying to charge the lithium iron phosphate. It's not an issue with the lead acid batteries. You can charge them pretty cold and they can get pretty hot, but the lithium iron phosphate is very important that you don't try and charge it when it's below freezing. So this temperature gauge will hook into the shunt. The shunt will wirelessly hook into the Cerebro, and the Cerebro will tell it whether or not it should allow it to charge or not. It can shut the charge from there on and off based on, it can shut both the solar and the shore power charge to the batteries off if it gets too cold. So that's what I've got so far. You can see the 300 amp fuse here. Everything is lining up pretty good. I've got to buy some cables. I need to connect the Multi Plus to the Servo GX. That's next. It's just a standard network cable that goes into there. Then I have to get two VE direct cables, one from there and one from here to hook them into the Servo GX. And then I need to hook it back into the distributor so that these lights work properly. It can give me an alarm if one of these fuses blows. So that's where I'm sitting with all the electrical right now. Battery is next on the list. Hopefully next week I'll be picking up a 300 amp hour ampere time battery. That will be the first battery. There'll be two in here eventually, but right now I'm only going to put one 300 amp hour in there because that's all I have the money for. They're $1,000 a piece, so you don't go buying a bunch of those. But 1 ampere time will go in here, and then eventually two, so I'll have 600 amp hours, which is 7,800 watts of power, which will be more than enough to run that for many, many hours. And I could run an air conditioner off of that much power. And if I need to, I could put one more on there, which will give me 78, almost 11,000 or 12,000 watts, which I can run an air conditioner all day, which I don't need to do. And then once I set this up with the solar, right now I've got the 130, which is 100 volts. It's kind of upside down, but 100 volts and 30 amps. I'm going to purchase the next one, which is 100 volts and 50 amps, and I'm going to hook that up into this setup, which will be very much like this is. And I'm going to get outside solar panels that are not mounted on there. I'm going to have 800 watts of solar on the roof, but I want an additional 800 watts that I could take and put on the ground. And with that, I'll be able to hook it into this secondary one here. And I'm also going to have another plug like this going out that I can hook up because I've got another solar panel set up already around here, which I don't know where it is right off the top of my head. That's 160 watts, and I'll be able to plug that directly into the distributor because it's already got a charge controller on it. So that's my game plan, is to run all this stuff and get myself 1,600 watts of solar, which will be quite a bit of solar for a small trailer like this. I'm going to have 300 or 600 amp hours of 12 volt batteries. I may take it up to 900 amp hours depending on how long it lasts. And I'm going to have the Servo GX running all of it together. This is a 2,000 watt inverter. That's pure sine wave. It's as good as you can get. The Victron Multi Plus, they don't get any better than that. Nothing on the market is even close. You can run these in the house as well, and you can run in houses off these, cabins off these, everything. That's the reason I chose to go with this versus going with Red Arc. Red Arc is much simpler to install. but RedArc does not have the expandability that Victron does. And what I can eventually do is I can actually box this up in such a manner that I can take it out of this trailer and place it in the kitchen of the house, put the batteries there, and then put the solar panels outside, and I can actually run this if I have a power out situation at home. I can run most of the house off of this. I can run the furnace off of it and my fridges and all that kind of stuff. So, and the other thing this has that is really cool is you can turn relays on and off with the Servo GX. It has tank monitors. I can monitor up to 9 tank monitors off of this. I can monitor my propane levels off of this. I can monitor everything I need to off that Servo GX. It can trip cameras. It can do all kinds of stuff that you can't necessarily do with other systems. So, if I was going to put a system in my Jeep, I would not put this system in. In my Jeep, I would put the RedArc system in, which I may yet do. I may put a RedArc in there, just so that when I have my tent on top of the Jeep and my awning without the trailer, I have a good system inside the Jeep. And I'll just put a 300 amp hour battery in there. That way I can run. I don't need to run an air conditioner, obviously, in it, but if I want to, I can run an air conditioner in the rooftop tent, and I can also run. I want to use electric stoves instead of gas stoves if I can at all possible to do that, especially in there. The induction stove is what I'd really like to run in the Jeep, and I'll probably run that in here as well. So anyway, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And hopefully this is giving you a basic look at what I have going on here. This will get much more in depth, and I will show you some of the programming I do, and I will show you some of the other stuff that goes in here. And like I said, this is just the base setup I've got it all mounted on here, but it's just a base setup for the beginning run of how this works, to make sure everything actually operates and make sure nothing is wrong and everything comes up and boots up and all that kind of stuff. I still have to run the ground wire from there to there into here to ground this, and all these different things need to be grounded, which I will do tomorrow morning when I get in here. I'm going to run all the grounds, either that or later tonight. So, but anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I figured I'd give you guys an update, and you can see this is the Victron systems, 12 volt with shore power, solar power charging, and 12 volt into 110 inverted, and all kinds of monitoring through the Servo GX. So anyway, have a wonderful evening, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.